Good evening, I'm David Chasanov. Some of us will be watching closely and counting the hours till the winter weather gets here. And hopefully you got your scrapers out of storage. We'll go right away straight to our Jack Gerfen, our chief meteorologist rather, for a timeline to help you plan for Monday. Jack, what's up?
Hey David, we've got the chance of a rain-snow mix coming through the area for tomorrow as our next weather maker approaches from the southwest. And so right now we've got actually mainly clear skies out there right now across our Skycam network. So our clouds won't be filling in until probably late at night, early tomorrow morning. And our temperatures right now are primarily still in the upper 30s and low 40s. They're likely not going to be a lot different for our highs for tomorrow because our temperatures will likely be warmer in the morning tomorrow compared to the afternoon. Again, our next system is across the four corners right now. That'll be providing us with our rain changing to snow throughout much of the day for tomorrow. So our next weather maker is going to be tracking primarily to the south of us, the actual center of circulation, the low itself. That means that we're going to be on the cool side of the system, which means that that's why snow is in our forecast for tomorrow, as rain will change to snow as our temperatures fall throughout the morning and into the afternoon hours. After that, though, it's a pretty quiet forecast. High pressure is in control. There's likely going to be another cold front that comes through by Friday, but otherwise, though, in terms of any rain and snow, this is going to be it for the entire week. So as of right now, we do expect things to be kind of moving towards more so snow showers by tomorrow afternoon. But you're going to see that for tonight, our lows are going to be right around that 32 mark, and then for tomorrow, they're likely to be warmer during the morning hours, as our highs will be likely early on in the day in the middle and upper 30s. You're going to see, though, that again we have that winter weather advisory for more of the western side of the state than the eastern side, because that's where more of the snow is going to actually fall across the state. As you'll see with our model, by the time we get to around 8 o'clock, we got the rain showers and snow showers working into the state, but the western side in the panhandle will most likely stay all snow for the duration of the event as it comes through. Us here in the city, for example, we're going to see everything go from rain changing to snow, maybe back and forth a couple times in the afternoon before it locks in on snow to end the event here as we go into the evening hours. So generally between about 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night here in the metro, for example, would be when we see our chance of the rain and snow passing on through. We've got a lot more details on our forecast here in just a little bit, but again, we'll talk on that rain and snow mix for tomorrow, the timing, the impacts, and the amounts of snow that you can expect. And after this system moves out of here, it's actually a very quiet rest of our forecast. David, back to you.
Thanks, Jack. Now's a good time to download the Fox 25 Stormwatch weather app right on your screen. You get access to live radar and weather alerts right on your phone or tablet, and it is free in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search KOKH. And with freezing temperatures expected, the Red Cross wants you to be ready. They say to drain and cover outside faucets so they don't freeze and burst. On the rod, keep your car fueled and make sure you have a roadside kit with you. You can see all their tips at redcross.org. And you still have time to prepare for tomorrow's winter storm. Auto shops say they have been busy last week as cooler temperatures have rolled in. And hardware stores are selling out of generators and heaters. They say if you know cold weather is coming, shop early.
If you're waiting to decide if it's going to get bad and then you come in, there's a good chance we may be out or you may not have the model that you're looking for.
Our producer Janelle up in the booth just went to get her scraper and de-icer, and she says they are almost sold out of scrapers. One person is injured in a shooting in southwest Oklahoma City. Investigators say it happened at the Almonte Apartments. One person was shot and taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police have not made any arrests, and this is a developing story, so make sure to check back with Fox 25 for updates. And the Choctaw Police Department needs help identifying this man. Officials say he was involved in a hit-and-run crash at Southeast 15th and Choctaw Road on Friday. This is a picture of his truck, too. Contact Choctaw Police if you have information about the crash or person of interest. And tonight, a 17-year-old is seriously injured after a single car crash. Troopers say the crash happened near 84th Street and York Road in Cleveland County. Authorities say a 16-year-old driver went off the roadway and hit a fence, then rolled a number of times. A 17-year-old passenger was ejected and they were flown to a hospital in critical condition. 2 other teens were treated for injuries. The teenagers in the backseat were not wearing seatbelts, but the driver and front passenger were. The cause of the crash is under investigation. This weekend, local nonprofit pet rescues have teamed up with PetSmart charities for their National Adoption Week to help find some furry friends, a forever home. Fox 25's Katie Arata joins us now with more about the adoption event. Katie, any cute cats or dogs?
Yeah, David, there were tons of dogs and cats, and Friends of the Shelter Foundation and the Underdogs Rescue had a tent outside of PetSmart in Norman today to bring exposure to some of their adoptable dogs and cats. PetSmart Charities National Adoption Week creates opportunities for potential pet owners to interact with adoptable dogs and cats from animal rescues throughout the state.
National Adoption Week is great. It happens twice a year, and for us as in rescue, it gives us such a big opportunity to bring all of our animals in one space in this great big tent where the fans can see that tent, and it brings in the crowd more. So it just gives exposure to rescue and what we do every day, and gives these dogs a chance to get homes.
And our cats.
And our cats.
The Friends of the Shelter Foundation is a nonprofit that rescues pets from rural shelters to help give them the exposure they need to find a home.
So you're getting these animals that are healthy and that need a loving home. They aren't coming out of a shelter that are getting sick because we've already taken them to the vet. We've already spayed and neutered them. We've already got them healthy. So you're getting these happy and healthy animals that just are ready for their family.
The Oklahoma City Animal Welfare is currently over its dog capacity by 61%, with 477 dogs at the shelter, according to their website.
Our job as rescue is to help those shelters and make sure that we're getting these dogs homes instead of being euthanized. All of our rescues are overflowing, so we want to make sure that we're getting as many into great homes that are already spayed and neutered, not adding to the problem in our state that we have right now with this overpopulation.
Adoption events like this one help dogs and cats find their forever homes, while also providing much-needed space at local rescues for animals in need.
We have had so many people coming through the tent and making sure that they're seeing all these great dogs and kitties and getting homes. I think yesterday we had about 13 adoptions, which is amazing in one day.
Now, if you missed out on this week's adoption events, no worries. There are still hundreds of adoptable pets throughout the state. We'll have a link to some of local rescues on our website, okcfox.com. Live in studio, Katie Arata, Fox 25 News.
Thanks, Katie. Now, even though Veterans Day was Friday, Norman residents held a Veterans Parade today. Hundreds came out to show their support for servicemen and women. The parade started at OU's Stevenson Research Technology Center and ended at Reeves Park, where they held a veterans ceremony. This year's theme is honoring our past into the future. And take a look at a new memorial honoring Native Americans, or Native American veterans rather. It's at the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian. Around 1,700 Native Americans gathered for the official dedication yesterday. Among the speakers, Kansas Congressman Sharice Davids.
I often get asked, why choose to serve a country that has mistreated tribes for generations? And we've heard it already. It's because they choose patriotism. It's because they choose love of this country and these lands.
The Smithsonian calls the monument, quote, simple, powerful, timeless, and inclusive. Music plays Native American songs, and there are 4 lances where families can tie cloth for prayers and healing. Taking action to curb gun violence. A Tulsa group is transforming weapons into something that nurtures life instead of taking it. Blacksmiths started breaking down the guns that were turned in right there on site. Soon they'll begin work to melt them down and turn them into garden tools. We spoke with one organizer who said they aren't anti-guns, they're just pro-gun safety.
We hear all day, every day about the statistics of guns getting into the hands of children and other people or mental health, mentally ill individuals who may, take their own lives. And so to be able to make sure that we have safe gun control is the whole premise of this program.
We're told they traded more than $15,000 in gift cards for unwanted guns. The group is holding a ceremony next month to return some of those guns turned garden tools to families who lost a loved one to gun violence. Tonight, there are some tough conversations occurring among members of the Republican Party. Despite record inflation and extremely low approval numbers for President Joe Biden, the red wave never came. So what's the reason? And who's to blame? National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports more why people say it's Donald Trump.
Thank you, Nevada.
For Republicans in 2022, it was a moment of reckoning, laying out a clear choice between the future and the past.
Those that were most closely aligned with the past, those are the ones that underperformed. We as a party need to have a debate about ideas.
The past, according to Senator Bill Cassidy, synonymous with one man, former President Donald Trump.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
That winning, at least of a Republican majority in the House, is still not certain, and Democrats will keep control of the Senate, despite low approval ratings for President Joe Biden.
When you say an election is stolen and there's no evidence, that's the roots of the beginning of the end of a democracy.
Threats to democracy often coming in just below the economy and inflation as a top issue driving voters to the polls.
It's basically the third election in a row that Donald Trump has cost us the race, and it's like, 3 strikes, you're out.
Even Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, considered a Trump loyalist, tweeting Saturday night, "The old party is dead. Time to bury it. Build something new." That task may be made much more difficult with a big announcement expected from the former president this week and an upcoming runoff election in the state of Georgia between incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock and Trump-endorsed candidate Herschel Walker. Republicans reportedly now questioning whether the former president will help or hurt Walker's chances in the December 6th runoff, with even the New York Post appearing to distance itself from Trump, seeming instead to endorse Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who won his re-election by 15 points.
This race is over.
Certainly, some Trump-endorsed candidates did sail to victory, while others, who defeated more moderate opponents in the primary, did not. The former president blaming Mitch McConnell in a post on Truth Social. With some Republicans pledging their loyalty to Donald Trump, others now appear to be walking away as the country watches and waits to see what happens next. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
And make sure you stay with us. We'll have the latest on the NTSB investigation on the deadly airshow plane crash that killed 6 people. Transportation Safety Board's investigation into the mid-air collision that killed 6 at a Dallas air show is underway. The World War II airplanes that collided did not carry black boxes, but there is substantial video evidence to review. It's not known why a P-63 King Cobra fighter plane clipped a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress on its back end. Both planes nosedive into the ground immediately after the collision.
The fact that we do have a camera or plenty of video, social media videos out there. Unfortunately, many of the general aviation accidents that we see out there, there is no flight data recorder or CVR, and many times there is no video. So it is very difficult for us to determine the probable cause. But the expertise of our investigators and the witness marks of the wreckage and things like that provides us a lot of information, but there are times that we cannot determine the probable cause to an accident.
And the NTSB says a preliminary accident report can be expected in 4 to 6 weeks, but it could be a year or longer before the final report is complete and ready to be released. In Indiana, at least 16 high school athletes were injured after an allegedly intoxicated truck driver crashed into their team bus. Authorities in Warsaw say the crash happened Saturday night. The collision caused the bus to flip onto its side, and 3 of the injured students were hockey players at St. Ignatius College Prep. They underwent surgery and were initially considered to be in critical condition. Police had reports of a drunk driver in a semi-truck and were on the way to try and stop it. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she believes voters were influenced by the attack on her husband. Pelosi says the attack has been traumatic for her entire family, but she thinks voters were turned off by Republican rhetoric after the fact.
I mean, imagine how I feel as the one who was the target and my husband paying the price and the traumatic effect on our family. But that trauma is intensified by the ridiculous, disrespectful attitude that the Republicans, and there's nobody disassociating themselves from the horrible response that they gave to it.
And for future plans, Pelosi says she's waiting on the full results to decide her next steps in the new Congress. In California, at least 5 people were hurt after a car crashed into a Ross store. Fire officials in Natomas near Sacramento say the crash happened on Saturday night. Responders transported 3 people to the hospital, with 1 person described as being in critical condition. 2 other people were released at the scene, and the SUV involved in the crash had bicycles strapped to the roof. It's unclear at what point at this point what caused the crash. In Newtown, Connecticut, parents remember their kids at a new memorial. 20 children and 6 adults were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary. The memorial is a sycamore tree in the middle of a reflection pool and 26 wreaths in the water for the victims, each one with a candle and paper note with their name on it. Victims' names engraved on the surrounding wall as well. There is also a plaque with a quote by former President Barack Obama. It says he offers the love and prayers of a nation and said, "We have wept with you." The global computer chip shortage, it's cost American companies billions of dollars and has impacted availability of countless consumer electronics, from cars to smartphones. Cheryl Atkinson with Full Measure reports from what they call Silicon Saxony in eastern Germany, and a center of global efforts to cure the world's Chinese chip addiction.
It's America that invented semiconductors.
I have here a small rectangular piece of a semiconductor.
Today, they're used in cars and thousands of electronics that we use every day. But the U.S. produces just 10% of the world's chips. Europe accounts for another 10%, mostly made here in Silicon Saxony. Taiwan makes 2/3 of the global supply. With current tensions between Taiwan and China, which controls the island chain, the chip-making imbalance poses national defense concerns. The U.S. CHIPS Act, passed in August, aims to address concerns with $280 billion taxpayer dollars to pump up computer chip production and high-tech research. And governments around the globe are spending billions on similar efforts. At a stop in Berlin, we spoke to Monica Lischke with top chip maker Intel. She tells me that Intel is spending $20 billion to build a mega factory here in Germany. It's making a similar investment in Ohio and expanding sites in Ireland, Oregon, New Mexico, and Arizona.
We've seen an unbalance in global supply chain. So currently it's like 80% is being produced in Asia and 20% it's like the split between the United States and the European Union. So it's 80-20. So our long-term goal as within the industry is 50% Asia and 50% then between the United States and the European Union.
Drive south from Berlin to Dresden. Thank you so much. Another company, Global Foundries, is playing a big part in the new chip drive. Executive Jens Drews shows us the company's expansive Saxony factory, Europe's biggest.
In the United States, there's talk about over-reliance on Asian producers when it comes to computer chips.
Well, it's the case worldwide. And so in Europe and in the US, discussion began what happens if we are vulnerable because the supply chains no longer work. And I think the chip shortage was not politically inspired. It just happened because demand and supply were out of whack. But now the realization is there. We should not be completely dependent on 2 or 3 countries in pretty volatile regions.
By the way, Silicon Valley and Silicon Saxony are so called because silicon is the material most commonly used in chips. It's considered an ideal and inexpensive semiconductor of electricity. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
The Biden administration is expected to decide whether to extend the COVID-19 public health emergency. It has been in place since January of 2020 and renewed every 90 days. The current declaration expires January 11th, but since states have not been given the required 60-day notice ending the declaration, it will likely be extended. Some Americans may face more out-of-pocket medical expenses if it ends. And we often talk about the importance of annual mammograms, but even a self-breast exam, especially if you're younger, can be life-saving. It was for an Ohio woman who found herself between great and devastating news in July of 2020. She shares her incredible story with medical reporter Barbara Morse.
I found the lump myself.
A lump in her right breast. Christina Peterson, just 34 at the time, told her doctor, who then ordered a diagnostic mammogram.
I'm on my way to that appointment, and I just thought to myself, I'm going to stop at the drugstore and get a pregnancy test.
Turned out Christina, a mother of one at the time, was pregnant. And then testing of that lump revealed she had a very aggressive type of breast cancer. She and her husband, Kevin, had to make decisions fast.
So at 8 weeks, I had the total mastectomy, and then the second option after I had surgery and the cells were taken to a special lab to kind of get just a better understanding of things, saw that the chemo was actually really necessary just for my survival. And surprisingly, it wasn't going to be harmful to the baby. I started chemo at 16 weeks and I did 8 rounds of chemo.
Every other week for 4 months. It was brutal.
The type of chemotherapy that I had causes complete hair loss.
She opted for wearing a cold cap during chemo, aimed at stopping that hair loss.
The worst brain freeze times 1,000 is what it felt like. Very, very painful. I was extremely determined. I wanted to take back something that the cancer couldn't take from me.
She didn't lose her hair, and on March 4th, 2021, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl, Morgan. Now this wife and mother of 2 has this message to others who may be too young for a screening mammogram.
Doing daily checks in the shower every other day is super important.
Christina's journey continues. She has since had a second mastectomy and is currently on a long-term drug, tamoxifen, to help prevent a recurrence. Her prognosis is excellent. I'm medical reporter Barbara Morse.
A new study says more parents have changed or quit their jobs because of their children's mental health. A survey of nearly 2,000 parents in the workforce found that nearly half of the parents said their child's mental health has interrupted their ability to work in the past year. It also found that 1/3 of working parents reported quitting or changing their jobs in the past 2 years because of their child's mental health. Thanksgiving could be getting a little strange this year. Bora is introducing the new green bean casserole sparkling water flavor just in time for the holidays. Green bean casserole water will be available through Bora's secret menu newsletter feature, and other flavors that could be included with Thanksgiving include honey pumpkin and chai cranberry. Tesla has announced a voluntary recall of more than 40,000 vehicles that could have a power steering issue. The recall involves Model S and Model X vehicles built between 2017 and 2021. Some drivers have reported their electric cars lose power steering on bumpy roads or after hitting a pothole. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the defect does not affect steering control. Instead, it means the driver has to use more strength to turn the wheel. And Fox 25 Chief Meteorologist Jack Gerfin has your back with tonight's forecast. Jack, I know everyone's talking about it. Snow's coming.
It's on the way. It's on the way. We'll talk about it here in just a second. And here we go with our forecast here. We've got our chance of snow that's going to be coming in from the west as the system is moving through the Four Corners region. Right now, it does not look to be very impressive across the area right now, but it is going to be intensifying as it comes off the mountains, and eventually it's going to form into this system. It's going to track primarily across North Texas here for us. Now, that low will be tracking to the south of us, which means that we're going to be on the cold side of the system, which means that we have the chance for that rain-snow mix as it comes through. That's going to be pretty much the only system that we have this weekend week. Everything else is going to be quiet. It's going to be cool, but it's going to be a quiet forecast for us. But you're going to see, though, that we've got a winter weather advisory for many counties here that goes until 6 p.m. tomorrow. And you'll also notice, too, just brand new, we do have this winter storm watch area that's also been added for Grady, Caddo, Ouachita, Custer, Dewey, Ellis, Roger Mills, and Beckham counties, because they're likely going to see a little bit more snow in that range there. Now, you'll see that our primary type of precipitation for the system will be mainly snow across the panhandle on the western side of the state, and on the southeast side of the state, mainly rain. But a lot of us in the central part of the state are going to see a wintry mix, or basically that rain that does change over to some snow. As you're going to see with our model for tomorrow, a lot of us are going to be pretty dry throughout the early morning commute hours, but about 8 o'clock, for example, here in the metro, we'll begin to see some rain showers. The panhandle and the western side, like I said, since they're going to stay primarily in the form of snow, we'll already start to see that amount of snow in the area. But then once we head towards lunchtime, you'll notice that for the metro, we'll likely at that point begin to make the transition over from rain to snow, maybe going back and forth a couple times, because you are noticing our temperatures are just a degree or two warmer than 32. We'll then keep that snow as we go into the afternoon hours, and eventually by about 8 o'clock or so in the evening, everything wraps up and that system moves out of the area, leaving behind some accumulation that we do expect. So that is going to be the forecast for our day tomorrow. Now you're going to see for the Oklahoma City metro area, we're going to see multiple types of precipitation throughout the day. So in the morning, things are going to start off as rain, and those rain showers will continue until, like I said, about lunchtime. Where at that point, then we're going to likely go in between a rain-snow mix. We may actually go between rain, back to snow, a mix. We may go back and forth a couple times during that time in the early afternoon hours. But then by later in the afternoon, our chance of precipitation is primarily in the snow form, and that's how things are going to end for us here. That's just one example here for, like I said, the metro area for tomorrow. Now you're going to see, though, that it's really going to be a difficult forecast because we don't have uniform temperatures throughout the column of air. If everything was at 32 or below, we'd be in the snow category. If everything was warmer, it would be rain. But we're going to be usually kind of in a mix here and there. The nice thing is going to be, though, is that we don't have a very icy forecast with this. It's either going to be rain or snow. It's not going to be freezing rain, creating icy conditions or anything like that. So that's some good news with this system. But you'll see that our ground temperature still remains quite warm, with a lot of road temperatures reading in the low to middle 40s. And I know this is right now, but that does play a factor into our forecast for tomorrow. So we do expect there to be accumulation with this system, even if you do start off as rain. You'll notice that in the white area, we got about a dusting to 1 inch of snow that can be expected. In the teal area, which does include the metro, about 1 to 2 inches worth of slushy snow. And then things do increase as you go farther west along I-40, where there could be some spots that are a little over 4 inches on the west side of the state. You're going to see, though, that our models are also still on the higher end here. So the models have always been much higher than our forecast, and that's because they're still having a hard time figuring out what the ground is going to be as well as the temperatures. So just remember, we are going from rain that'll change over to snow. We could go back and forth a couple times. We expect some big wet flakes to be occurring, and sometimes it could fall down heavily at times. The accumulation should be slushy with melting that'll be expected. A lot of the snowflakes will melt on contact, or it'll melt throughout the evening. And then a big change can be seen with just a small temperature change. So for tonight, 32 degrees. To recap for tomorrow, rain changes to snow as our temperatures start off in the upper 30s and fall into the low 30s by the afternoon. And you'll see that our 7-day forecast is quite cool, but also quite calm once the system moves out.
Your 25 News at 9.
On this Veterans Day weekend, Tulsans are thanking those who have served, and several showed their gratitude by participating in a 5K. The final mile honors those service members who are no longer with us, and Daniela Ibarra reports.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
A morning filled with patriotism and gratitude.
As a service member, just wanted to come out here and just recognize those servicemen and women that have answered the call to serve. Their duty to this country is second to none.
Dustin Bishop is a Navy vet, thanking his fellow brothers and sisters who've served.
It's something that we all should want to take time out of our day to say, hey, we're here for you. You know, we support you in everything that we can do. And we just want to say thank you and honor you on this day.
Bishop is one of hundreds participating in the Welcome Home 5K.
We welcome you home to help in that transition. It's our largest rally point, what we call rally point.
Jonathan Shepard founded Eagle Ops, the nonprofit organizing the race with his wife. As a Marine vet himself, he knows how tough it is to transition from military to civilian life.
We didn't want other veterans, as they transition home, to go through those same trials and tribulations without a mentor, without a brother, without another veteran or a community around them to be able to assist them in that transition.
That is our pushers and adaptive athletes on the road right now. She's ready to run!
The race is one way to connect veterans and their families with others. The final stretch honors those we've lost.
And we've added on the Honor Mile, in which we're honoring 242 fallen service members from around the country, primarily from Oklahoma and this area.
Staff Sergeant Nick Hughes is one of those faces runners pass by. His mother, Cindy, keeps him company.
Nick, first of all, was a funny kid, and he was a funny guy, but he was very patriotic, and he really wanted to serve. 9/11 was a wake-up call for many of our soldiers, but especially for Nick, and he loved it.
A drunk driver killed him 17 years ago while serving a weekend drill with the Oklahoma National Guard.
If he wasn't gone, he would be one of them running, or one of them that would definitely be supporting our soldiers who come home.
Supporting those soldiers includes making sure they get all the help they need. While the most recent VA data shows suicide deaths are dropping, it's still a big issue.
Well, the number one factor for veteran suicide is isolation. That leads to many other issues, but it ultimately can lead to veteran suicide. So how do we stop that, right? We stop that by social activity, creating an opportunity for service members to plug back in and veterans to plug back into other veterans and assist each other, just like we did back in the military, and say, hey brother, hey sister, we're here, we got your six.
Coming up on Fox 25 Sports Sunday, the Thunder head an early afternoon tip at Madison Square Garden against the New York Knicks. SGA looking to continue his torrid start to the season. 13 games into the season. We'll give you our take on the good and the bad of the Thunder season. We had a big football weekend with Oklahoma's issues continuing on both sides of the ball in West Virginia, while OSU found a way to get a win at home against Iowa State. What does that mean for Bedlam this week? That will definitely be a big topic. We'll give our picks for this week's game. College basketball underway for the state schools as well. NFL too. So much to talk about coming up at 10 o'clock on Fox 25 Sports Sunday. We'll be right back.
Check out the newest Guinness World Record holder. The Highway Cafe in Veneta says it broke the record for most stickers on a car this afternoon. The cafe is on Route 66, so of course they put 60,066 stickers on that car. That beat the old record by more than 18,000 stickers. Where do you even find that many stickers? And by the way, yesterday was the Mother Road's 96th birthday. And the NFL makes history today. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers face the Seattle Seahawks in Munich today. It's the first ever regular season game ever played in Germany. The game also made Tom Brady the first quarterback to start a game in 3 different countries outside the U.S. As a New England Patriot, Brady won all 3 of the international games he's played in, with 2 in London and 1 in Mexico City. What can't the GOAT do, as they say? You know?
I mean, I don't know, though. Then it just gets so early. You have to watch them so early.
Yeah.
Do you ever play in Madden, like the German teams?
Yep.
Yeah. Like it was.
I can never win those. It's always a tough game.
I know. So our next weather maker, as you can see here, it's a basically active Monday and then a very quiet 7 days. So tomorrow we are looking at most of the state to be impacted by our weather system as it comes through. A lot of us will see rain showers change into snow that will accumulate as we go into the afternoon hours. This will definitely impact the Monday evening commute. And so we're going to have much more on this tomorrow morning when Elliot is in the morning.